Rodgers going end zone. Lazard, he's got it!
As nice as it would be, you can't keep the whole band together every single year. Inevitably, certain players are gonna have to leave the teams that they're on, whether it's due to retirement or taking opportunities elsewhere. On the flip side, sometimes you'll hear that some key players on your favorite team will soon be departing, only for them to announce that they're sticking around for another year. So who's gonna be moving on and who's gonna be sticking around? Well, today, we talk about a little of both. We see a handful of big-named NFL stars switch teams every offseason. I mean, last year alone, we saw the likes of Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, Khalil Mack, Von Miller, and Bobby Wagner all move to a new home via trade or free agency. Well, 2023 promises to be no different. There are several marquee names that are either slated to hit free agency or are being mentioned constantly in trade rumors. With that said, let's take a glance into the crystal ball and look at 5 NFL superstars who will find a new team in 2023 and 5 who will surprise us by staying right where they are.
Not had Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, and everybody's wondering about their future. You know Tom better.
New team, Stefon Diggs. With the major cap crunch looming, the Buffalo Bills will have to make some difficult decisions. Key contributors like Jordan Poyer, Tremaine Edmonds, Roger Saffold, Devin Singletary, and Shaq Lawson are all free agents for starters. This would be awfully bold of GM Brandon Beane, but trading star wide receiver Stefon Diggs makes more sense than you might think. He'll be 30 years of age in November, and that's a pretty common age for receivers to decline. Secondly, you gotta wonder if Diggs and the Bills want each other anymore. He was visibly frustrated at Josh Allen during the team's divisional round playoff loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, and you probably heard the reports of him leaving Highmark Stadium quickly following that loss. Is Diggs a star? Yes, but well-ran teams like the Bills know to get rid of a player a year too early rather than a year too late. And with other big-name receivers available via trade, free agency, and at the draft, Beane could decide to move on from Diggs and replace him on the cheap. Look at how the Kansas City Chiefs spread out money to replace Tyreek Hill, and we'd say that worked out pretty well for them. Diggs has done great things in Buffalo, but the Bills may be wise to trade him while his value is still high. And you can't risk disrupting locker room chemistry if his outbursts are going to continue. So don't be shocked if he is the next big-name receiver to switch teams this offseason. Stay, Lamar Jackson. It's fun to speculate about all the different trade and free agent scenarios for the 2019 League MVP, but when all is said and done, Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens will remember that they're better off together. Baltimore remains a bona fide Super Bowl contender with Jackson in the mix, and there is simply no other team in the league who could build their offense around Jackson the way the Ravens have. Maybe this isn't the year where they finally reach an agreement on a long-term deal. Maybe it's another year of the franchise tag. Either way, we should trust John Harbaugh when he says Jackson will 200% be a Raven in 2023. Both sides are just too smart to let this successful marriage end after just 5 years. New team, DeAndre Hopkins. Sweeping changes are coming across the board in the desert following a nightmare 2022 season. The Arizona Cardinals fired head coach Cliff Kingsbury less than a year after extending him through 2027. General manager Steve Keim resigned for health reasons, and now star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is reportedly on the trade block. Hopkins will be 31 next season and has 2 years remaining on his contract. With Marquise Hollywood Brown on the roster, the Cardinals can't afford to move on from D-Hop and that expensive salary. Plenty of teams should have interest in Hopkins, who is still a true number 1 wideout when healthy. Arizona probably won't get a whole lot for him at this point, but it's time to clear cap space and retool the roster. And you know, moving out Hopkins' salary would help achieve that goal. At least half the teams should inquire about Hopkins. Wouldn't he look great in a New England Patriots uniform? What if the Kansas City Chiefs made the cap gymnastics work? Or how about the Los Angeles Chargers, anyone? Hey, you know what? The New York Giants need a wideout too. Look, bottom line, it is no wonder Arizona is shopping Hopkins. It was mostly a successful run together, but it's clear that both sides would benefit from a breakup. A Hopkins trade this offseason is, in a word, inevitable. Stay, Jalen Ramsey. If Sean McVay decided to walk away from the Los Angeles Rams, it would have made sense for the franchise to rebuild from scratch. But with McVay coming back for at least one more year, the Rams ought to keep the band together for one last run. Some of Ramsey's mysterious tweets on social media have led fans to wonder if he's seeking a trade or if the Rams may shop him. But he's only the best cornerback on the planet and still in his prime, so can somebody please tell us how in the world it makes sense to trade him? Sure, there are definitely holes on the roster, but Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford alone give the Rams a chance to win another championship. You just don't replace a world-class player like Ramsey, and if you trade him, you may as well trade your other stars too. There's no indication that the Rams are looking to go that route. So when all is said and done, Ramsey will be back in LA for 2023. If a Ramsey trade is in the cards, it'll probably be after next season. The Rams can't expect to win another title without him on their roster. New team, Duron Payne. The Washington Commanders would love to keep Duron Payne beyond this season, but they should lean towards letting him walk and spending the money elsewhere. Payne is coming off a breakout year with 11.5 sacks and 5 pass defenses. Even if Washington is super keen on keeping Payne, it's going to be awfully difficult to outbid other competitors. Washington already has Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, and Montez Sweat in the front seven, and 2021 first-rounder Jamin Davis is capable of doing more in an expanded role. So look for Payne to leave DC and chase the big payday elsewhere. There are plenty of teams that would happily give him close to $20 million annually on a new deal. At this point, Payne would be a luxury and not a necessity for a deep Washington defense. Payne deserves to get paid. The Commanders need to save some money to bolster their secondary, offensive line, and quarterback room. So, the logic would suggest that Payne is among the notable stars who will switch uniforms for the 2023 season. Stay. Josh Jacobs. It was rather surprising to see the Raiders decline the fifth-year option on Jacobs' rookie contract. They surely regret it now. 2022 was a huge letdown of a year in Sin City, but Jacobs gave the fans something to cheer for each week. He finished as the NFL's leading rusher with 1,653 yards to go along with 12 rushing touchdowns and 400 receiving yards. Handing a big contract to a running back is risky in this day and age. Todd Gurley, Devontae Freeman, and Ezekiel Elliott are recent examples of this, but Jacobs is totally worth the price tag. It's not just because Jacobs is great. If the Raiders retain Jacobs, it only helps their chances of landing a big-name quarterback like Lamar Jackson. The Raiders won't find a better running back if they let Jacobs walk this year. They just don't match his speed, explosiveness, and game-changing abilities. The Raiders were a 6-win team with Jacobs last year. Without him? Ugh. Look, we don't want to even imagine how ugly it could get. Add it all up, and it only makes sense for Jacobs to return to Sin City in 2023. Letting him walk to free agency would be a terrible mistake by GM Dave Ziegler and the Raiders front office. New team, Orlando Brown Jr. The Kansas City Chiefs were unable to reach an agreement on a new deal with standout defensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. last offseason, so they hit him with the franchise tag. In July 2022, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Chiefs offered Brown a lucrative 6-year contract worth $139 million. That is more than fair for a good but not elite blocker like him. Yeah, he is coming off his 4th straight Pro Bowl selection, but Brown isn't exactly a Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, or Tristan Wirfs level. According to Pro Football Focus, he's allowed 4 sacks and committed 6 penalties in the 2022 regular season. In 2021, Brown allowed 4 sacks and committed 7 penalties. His overall PFF grades were solid, but nothing close to great. And if $139 million wasn't enough for him last year, well, good luck, because the Chiefs have no reason to offer him anything close to that this time around. Kansas City has 3 stalwarts on that O-line in Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Joe Thuney. Given their tough cap situation, you just can't justify giving over $100 million to Orlando Brown. So look for him to make his big contract elsewhere, while Kansas City spends that precious little cap room on other areas. Stay. Saquon Barkley. At the start of the season, we would have made a hard case for the New York Giants to let Saquon Barkley walk into free agency. But then, the number 2 pick of the 2018 NFL Draft stayed fully healthy and returned to superstar mode, finishing with a career-high 1,312 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. Oh, and Barkley helped the Giants reach the postseason for the first time in 6 years. He and dual-threat signal caller Daniel Jones lifted a Giants offense that lacked any real threats in the passing game. New York's ground game and stingy defense helped this team rebound in year 1 under Brian Daboll. But now Barkley is set to hit free agency. Will he and Daboll have another crack at it together? The goal should be to build around a Jones and Barkley-led offense. Get them some wide receiver help, and definitely do not let them walk. Barkley is a top 3 running back in the NFL, and he reminded the world how much he can single-handedly take over games when he is at full strength. We would be utterly shocked if Barkley played anywhere else in 2023. New team, Lavonte David. David has spent his entire playing career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it feels like the perfect opportunity for him to finally take his talents elsewhere. The Buccaneers need to rebuild. Tom Brady is a gunner, and the Bucs, as currently constructed, just aren't a Super Bowl contender. Yes, David remains at the top of his game, but 2023 also marks his age 33 season. How many good years does he realistically have left? A team in win-now mode could use a do-it-all linebacker like David, who's coming off arguably the best season of his career. Signing him to a 3-year deal worth around $15 million annually makes sense if you're a bona fide contender like the Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Philadelphia Eagles, or San Francisco 49ers. It just doesn't make sense for David to finish out his prime years on a rebuilding Bucs team. And when you're rebuilding, the goal is to get younger, not older. So it only makes sense for David to find a new home and for the Bucs to use the 2023 offseason to restart at quarterback and on defense. Stay. Aaron Rodgers. This is the third straight offseason where we have to have the Aaron Rodgers conversation. And by now, we've learned our lesson. We're not going to bite anymore. No. He's not getting traded. No, he is not retiring. None of that is happening. Do you really think that the 4-time league MVP wants to walk away after losing a must-win game against the rival Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field? No. Neither do we. It was an off year for the Packers, but there is still way too much talent on the table here. Realistically, which Super Bowl contenders offer Rodgers a better shot at a championship? None, because the real title contenders are all already set at quarterback. Rodgers was getting into a rhythm with rookie wideout Christian Watson in the second half. The Packers just need to add one more receiver to complement Watson, and then they will be set. The defense is a championship-level unit that will be even better in 2023. Also, we don't believe Rodgers when he claims he wouldn't mind walking away from all that money on the table. He's still at physical peak and could probably pull a Tom Brady and play well into his mid-40s. So no, Rodgers is not going anywhere. He's not getting traded, and he is not retiring. The future Hall of Famer has unfinished business. He's coming back to Green Bay for at least one more season. But which other superstars will find a new team in 2023? And which ones do you think will stay with their current clubs? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.